with their head, hand in their head, sort of shaking their heads, but we see no damage to homes, and there certainly are no signs of any injuries. There's no ambulance. As a matter of fact, the police are now letting the cars go over, so they obviously think that the damage has gone. People, those that are home at this hour, they just sort of stunned at the ferocity and the quickness with which it hit.
And what is the weather like right now? Has it stopped raining? Is the lightning gone?
It has stopped raining. As a matter of fact, south of us, it looks like a nice, pretty, bright, sunny Florida day. Where we are, it's quite windy, quite muggy, quite humid, but the bad weather is clearly moving on and off and away from us.
Now, when you look to the northeast, can you still see remnants of this storm?
Yes, you can, but what you really see is that very dark, threatening sky. You certainly don't see the funnel as we saw, what was it, about half an hour ago, and you don't see any telltale signs even of a funnel that has come down. You just see sort of dark, nasty-looking clouds that aren't that unusual for this time of the year normally.
Right. You say police are letting traffic come back in, but they don't seem to be racing in any direction, so we can suspect from that there have been no reports of injuries.
Yes, absolutely. As a matter of fact, the road really does look pretty bad, and the cars are having to move very, very slowly. The roads are wet, they're slick, there's a lot of leaves down, but the biggest problem, of course, is not just branches, but trees have been uprooted. A lot of people standing outside watching, too. As we started over the Venetian Causeway, there were just sort of hordes of people looking out over the bay.
Do you notice that the power is on or off there?
Well, it's sort of hard to tell. At this time of the day, not everyone necessarily would have their lights on.
Right.
Power lines appear to be a little lower than usual, and I'm not too sure they're in good shape, but I can't tell at this point. I don't see literally downed, hot, active power lines.
All right, we'd like to warn people, if you do in fact live in that area, not to go near any of those down trees, because down lines could be hidden in them, and that can be very dangerous. We, of course, learned that from Hurricane Andrew. We're also getting initial reports of some damage at the Freedom Tower. That is not yet confirmed, and we have a crew.
3:15 this afternoon. Mark?
Bill, Courtney Carr was telling us about seeing one large twister. She said it was black as smoke, and then three smaller lines. What do you make of that?
Well, Mark, from viewing the videotape that
Again, the tornado shot earlier. This, we believe, the tornado that went through downtown Miami, out to Miami Beach, causing a considerable amount of damage from the initial reports in the downtown area and in the Overtown area. News producer Courtney Carr was there. She saw it come through, said it looked like a pillar of smoke as it blasted through the downtown area. Courtney, are you still there?
I'm here. My name is Mercedes Arango.
Very good. Now tell us, please, exactly what it is you saw, and tell us first where you are.
Well, right now I'm in the 5th Street Northeast, and I was turning in a 2nd Avenue. And while I was turning, I saw a big thing. I really cannot tell you. It was something so strange moving my car. And I heard the glasses of my window just turn over, and I saw then the big building, glasses all over. So I just stopped and I started praying, because I never saw anything like this before.
So you were in the car when you saw the tornado?
Yes, I was driving. I was in the car trying to turn in the 2nd Avenue.
And what did you think of to do at that time? What a remarkable sight.
What did I do?
Yes.
Did I do?
Yes.
Stop, and I was actually right under it's like the railroad, something like that, trying not to go in the other side, because I was looking at all the glasses from the building falling down, and all of a sudden I heard my car, my car was moving without me moving. And the glasses of my car just falling apart.
Tell me how much damage your car suffered.
Well, right now it's all the back window, the back glass of the car.
Did something come through the window? Did the wind blow it out? Were you able to tell?
When it was nothing hit my window. It was the wind. The wind just, I don't know how can that happen, but it was.
Be a frightening experience. Are you still shaken up by it?
Well, you can imagine. I'm here just already 20 minutes, and I have to stop. I couldn't drive. I called my son to help me, because I couldn't drive, and they tried to help me, but I couldn't even move my legs.
A terrifying experience. Thank you very much for talking with us. We've been talking to a woman who was in the twister. She was at Northeast 2nd Avenue and 5th Street in downtown Miami when the tornado came through. It blew out the back windows of her car as she sat inside it, and she is still there. 20 minutes later, still trying to get over the experience. Back now to Bill Kamal in the Weather Center. Bill?
Okay, Mark.
It's an ominous looking thing. If you've ever lived through a tornado or lived through a hurricane for that matter, you know the power of Mother Nature and how frightening something like this can be. It's moving across the causeway and really churning up the water there. It's amazing that we don't have reports of overturned vehicles on the causeway, although we just heard from a woman named Marcy Stanton, who was an eyewitness on the beach, that there is at least one vehicle overturned on the building in which she is occupying. She said also a roof caved in on the 4th floor of that building. Eyewitness News reporter Connie Hicks was making her way across the causeway, and she said again, trees were down everywhere, road signs were down. She says the power seems to still be on, but again, we issued this morning once before, and we're going to say it again. If you see any of those trees down, do not go near them. If they're impeding your way on the road, go around them or take another route, because live wires could be hidden inside those trees, and as we learned in Hurricane Andrew, that can be extremely dangerous, if not deadly. Let's check in again with our weather department. Don, are you over at the map?
Yes, I am, Diane. I'm over here, and what we're going to F5, F0 being the weakest, and F5.
At the area of the Miami River. Maybe 3 or 4 minutes later, as we're looking at the tape here, again, this is unedited. We apologize. We just haven't had time to turn it around any faster. You can see the storm now. You can see the clouds at the base of this cloud bank here starting to swirl as I block traffic on the middle of Northwest 12th Avenue. There, the diamond or the triangular shape in the center is what turns out to be what I would call a tornado. From everything I've ever read or seen, you'll see in moments on our video as it moves forward, you'll see this begin to touch down. Now we have a considerable traffic tie-up right there, and all along 836 as it exits over to Miami Beach near the Miami Herald building, as people just were out of their vehicles staring at this storm as it moved through downtown Miami. Right now, I'd put it in the area, let's see, well here, okay, now we're looking back towards the, well, we're not looking at anything. We're looking back towards the Jackson Memorial Medical Complex. Now we're looking due east. The thing has already moved over toward the area of Biscayne Boulevard here, and as soon as it moves forward, and if I can do this, just bear with me here. I'm going to fast forward this tape on the air here just for a second. I know this is uncharacteristic, but right here, you're going to see the storm as it begins to make, it's not landfall, but it's beginning to touch down here. As you can see, this is that radio tower you see at the base of the screen there, that small tower, that's the Miami Herald radio tower. So at this point, it's going right near the MacArthur Causeway Bridge and preparing to cross over into that area. Now, with my naked eye, I could see at the base of the where it was touching down, I could see large chunks of debris starting to fly up here momentarily. I just wanted to give you a shot of the traffic to show you what people were doing. Everybody was stopping to eyeball this thing. Again, the storm. Now you'll start to see debris here at the base of this column that's it's lifting, and I guess it's also picking up a tremendous amount of water as it crosses over the Biscayne Bay area. I'm going to let this tape roll. If there's a question or something anybody back at the station wants to interject, I'm about out of words at this point.
Okay, Ralph, thank you very much. We're looking now at the what apparently has become a water spout as it moves across Biscayne Bay, but as we see it. Wow, look at that. You see what apparently is debris already flying in all directions as the tornado touches down. We're just going to let this play out and take a look at it for a while. One of our producers in the field, Courtney Carr, had described just a black pillar coming her way earlier this afternoon. That no doubt is, this is what she was seeing, we imagine, as the twister gathers debris up into its funnel. Ralph Rayburn telling us a short while ago how people just were Miami and 2 in Miami Beach, 4 other lines down in various parts of Dade County and Broward County. No addresses yet on the lines that are down. That preliminary report from Florida Power and Light, 16,000 customers without power at this point. And that, of course, is the first report. And here you're looking at some remarkable videotape shot just a bit earlier of the twister coming through. As noted, the path of the twister apparently started out in the Flagler Street area, came across Overtown, downtown Miami, in the area of the Miami Herald building, which is at about 14th Street and the Bay. The twister left land and went across Miami Beach, roughly paralleling the Venetian Causeway as it headed toward Miami Beach. Bill, give us your impressions of what you're seeing.
Yeah, Mark, when I saw that twister form, and again, we're talking classifications, very unusual to have this kind of tornado in South Florida. And tornadoes don't always start at the cloud and go down to the ground. As you just saw, sometimes the two meet. It's just a spinning vortex of air, and it almost started, it looks like a dust devil, and then met up with the funnel in the cloud, and that's just the column of rotating winds in a tornado. So it's not just the funnel coming out of the cloud down to the ground, but what is remarkable, what looks like just specks flying, could be just glass windows, it could be sheet metal from the side of a building. I mean, we're far away from that funnel, obviously, with this video, but you can just see the tremendous ferocity of this event. And I could see by looking at this video that we're not talking about a mini tornado here. This could, in fact, be the F2 classification, which is a moderate tornado, and we could be seeing quite a bit of dollar damage from this thing.
We're told, Bill, this video was shot a short while ago at the port of Miami. We expect some cruise passengers may have seen some very unforgettable sights right here at their port of call.
You know, it's a good idea to just brush up on a quick tornado safety drill here. When you're outside, you know, you said people were transfixed looking at the tornado. These things can move in any direction they want to. They can back up, reverse, make a U-turn. Sometimes they can travel at speeds up to 60, 70 miles per hour. If you're caught outside in a tornado, and there could be some more formations of funnel clouds, by the way, this afternoon, you want to get out of the car. You want to abandon the vehicle. You want to lie flat, preferably in a ditch or a ravine, and cover your head to protect your head from any kind of flying debris. And if you lie flat, that would decrease your chances of being picked up in this funnel, which can pick up cars, can pick up trains if they're strong enough. And if you're in the house, obviously go to an interior room. The bathroom, if it doesn't have any windows, is a strong room because it supports plumbing. You want to get away from any doors and windows. And you want to go to a basement, but if you don't have the basement, the bathroom is the best place to be inside your home if it does not have a window. Mark?
What a remarkable sight, Bill. You expect to see pictures like this out in the prairie someplace, but not in the heart of downtown Miami.
You know, when you talk about formations of tornadoes, Mark, it's funny because a lot of times we just have tornado watches and we just see waterspouts or funnel clouds. We have a situation where it almost is Midwest-like today. We have a very strong low pressure in the Gulf of Mexico, and it's just that even though it's May and we usually don't get collision of air masses, we do have that in our area this afternoon. And when you talk about tornado formation, you have to have wind change or wind directional changes with height. In other words, if the wind is blowing southeast at the surface where we live and is blowing southwest or west in the upper levels of the atmosphere, that can start the rotation process. And that's why, in fact, we have the tornado watch. So the conditions are still prime. In fact, those of you who are seeing sunshine right now, it does not mean that you're going to have some nice weather. We could be in for a rough afternoon here. And in fact, if we could go to Doppler real quick, I want to show you something that has changed. This tornado in North Broward has gotten a little bit more intense, and a line is developing now from Broward down to Dade. And this tornado warning for this cell here in North Broward is still in effect till 3:15 for residents near Coral Springs, Tamarack, and Margate. But the outflow, or the cool air that rushed down from this line, has formed the new line in northwest Dade, so everything is still moving to the southeast as the individual storms race off to the northeast. So the metro areas of Fort Lauderdale and Miami still are under the gun for the possibility of more severe weather over the next couple of hours. The tornadic storm east now in the Atlantic waters producing...
Is this Mike Gonzalez?
Yes, speaking.
Okay, Mike, we know you're at the Port of Miami. You work for Royal Caribbean Cruise Lines. Tell us what you saw.
Basically, we saw some dark clouds behind the SunTrust building, and they started to swerve, and it took about 5 minutes for a small funnel cloud to form. And then it hid behind the SunTrust building, then came back out, and we just started seeing debris and, I guess, tree limbs and junk from behind the buildings.
Now, how long ago did it come through your area?
I would say about 20 minutes ago.
And what do you see now in terms of the effects?
Right now, we really can't see much because we're about a half a mile from downtown. We can see the whole downtown area, but I can't see any specific areas. I do see that the corner where the Port of Miami bridge is, there is some damage over there, but I really can't see specific damage. I saw most of the stuff up in the air, a couple of palm trees, saw one car get tossed around.
Did the twister seem to touch the port area itself?
It touched the actual bridge leading into the port. It tried to kind of, went up the bridge for a little bit, then it jumped back into the water and brushed beside the Sovereign of the Seas, one of our ships that we have in port, and just kept going towards the water.
We're looking now, Mike, at video tape shot in the area of the Port of Miami a short while ago. Tell us what you thought when you saw this thing heading your way.
Well, I thought it was pretty neat for a second until we saw it coming our way. Then we kind of got a little concerned, but it broke up too fast for us to really, think it was going to do some damage over on our side. Luckily, it missed, all the cruise ships that are in there today. It just broke up in the water.
Now, you say the cruise ships are in port today?
Yeah, towards the area where the funnel cloud was, there's two cruise ships. The Sovereign and another ship from another company, and luckily it missed the ships completely.
Now, is this a time of day when there are a lot of cruise passengers in the area?
We saw a lot of people actually outside on the cruise ships looking at the funnel cloud.
You mean out on deck on the cruise ships watching the funnel cloud coming their way?
That's correct, yeah. We were kind of a little scared for them because maybe they didn't realize, the effect of it. But yeah, we were looking at the people looking at the funnel cloud.
Now, are these people who have just arrived or who are outbound?
I guess these are people who just arrived for a cruise, I'm assuming.
Wow, well, it's a remarkable sight. Mike, thanks for checking in with us. We really appreciate it.
All right.
Mike Gonzalez talking with us on the telephone from the Port of Miami. He witnessed the funnel cloud heading out into the bay where it apparently dissipated. Let's go back to the Weather Center for more.
Okay, Mark, we got a call from a viewer west of University Drive in Coral Springs.
As I mentioned, we just got on the scene. I'm working this one for you. As soon as I have some more information, I'll come back to you.
Brian, thank you very much. Right now we're looking at videotape shot a bit earlier showing the high winds coming through, the debris being blown about. Eerily like the video we seem to see every summer in the beginning stages of hurricanes. But this, of course, is no such thing. This is a tornado, an urban tornado, coming through the city of Miami about, I think about an hour ago now. You see now the tower of the Miami Herald building, I believe, at the right side of your picture. This shot in the Overtown area as the tornado comes west to east through Overtown, through downtown, parallel to the Venetian Causeway, before dissipating, we're told, in the Biscayne Bay area. Apparently did not make it to Miami Beach. That, again, according to earlier reports. Reviewing, too, a report from Florida Power and Light, which says some 16,000 customers are without electricity at this hour because of two major power lines that were downed by the tornado. Most of the damage, so far as we know, coming to automobiles in the area of Overtown. We had reports from Northeast 2nd Avenue and 5th Street outside the Harry Kane Towers, where a lot of people apparently were somewhat shook up as the twister came through. No reports of injuries as far as we know. Again, we're just in the initial process of gathering information, but so far as we know, no injuries reported thus far as a tornado goes across downtown Miami, and the threat of tornadoes persists in Broward County. Back now to Bill Kamal in the Weather Center.
Okay, Mark, and looking at that video, amazing that we have that kind of formation in South Florida. We talked about this, and let me go over the Fujita scale again. Just like hurricanes are classified, so are tornadoes. We're talking a classification anywhere from F0 to F5, F0 being the weakest ones. And mind you, South Florida gets their fair share, its fair share of tornadoes during the season, and they're mostly of the F1 or F0 type, the weak ones to maybe a marginal moderate one. But looking at this video, Mark, it looks as though we're looking at possibly an F2, and it looks like just little birds or little pieces of plastic flying around. Those indeed could be glass windows, sidings to homes or buildings, and of course tree branches flying around. This is a pretty damaging tornado, and maybe an F2 when all the assessment is done, and of course the Weather Service will have to go out and inspect the damage. We could be talking about a funnel that produced winds in excess of 120 or 125 miles per hour. Now, if you're out in a tornado and you're in a car, you can't just get out and look at it. You can't drive away from it. It could do anything it wants to do. You've got to abandon the vehicle, lie flat in a ditch, or just flat if there's no ditch, lie down, face down, cover your head, protect your head from flying debris, and that would lessen your chances if you're lying flat of being picked up by the funnel, which in this case could have picked people up had people been underneath the funnel when it appeared to be forming. If you're inside the house, go to the basement. If there's no basement in your house, get away from interior, or go to an interior hallway away from windows, preferably the bathroom if there's no windows in the bathroom, because the bathroom is the strongest room in the house. It has to be to support all the plumbing. So if you're in your house and you have no basement and the bathroom has no windows, get in the bathroom. If not, if it does have a window, an interior hallway. Just make sure you're away from all windows and doors, which could become missiles in funnels such as this. And of course, we do have still the chance for formations of more funnel clouds and tornadoes in Broward and Dade County throughout the afternoon hours. We're watching Doppler continuously. Some of these storms are weakening, but some are getting stronger too. Mark?
Bill, thank you very much. As you just noted, an automobile is a very scary place to be with a tornado bearing down. That's exactly where 7 News reporter Lisa Baldwin was a short while ago. Lisa, tell us where you were and what happened.
That's right, Mark. We were in downtown Miami, and what happened was we were in the news car going probably about 10 miles per hour when we could tell that a circular formation was happening right in front of us. The debris you could just see right in front of the car window was circulating in a circular motion under the cloud. And we knew that there was trouble. As Craig said earlier, you sit in the car and you wonder, what should we do? Should we get out of the car? Should we stay in the car? Well, what seemed like about 30 seconds for us, we stayed in the car until it blew over. But it really was scary because this was not just a strong wind. As I said, you could see the circular motion, and we knew it was a tornado right on top of us because of that. And trees were just snapped in two, not just a few feet from us. So we realized after that just how dangerous the situation was. It was pretty scary.
The feeling in the car as the twister came by you, what did it feel like?
Well, it wasn't a shaking or a rocking, just a really kind of a strong, as you could tell, there was a little bit of motion with the wind, but it did not move the car at all. But yet it was much worse than a strong wind. And the scariest thing was seeing the debris in the circular motion right on top of us. And like I said, it seemed to last 30 seconds, but seemed like an eternity at the time, because we just wanted it to get away from us. It really was scary.
So many times we're out in news cars, we have reports of tornadoes in the area, and we go dashing off trying to find them. And here one found you.
Exactly, and we were not looking for it. We just happened to be right in that area when it came through, and naturally that instinct takes over, and you wonder, should we get out and shoot this? Do we try to save our lives and bolt out of here? We really didn't know what to do, but by the time we gathered our wits, about 30 seconds had passed, and the thing was gone. But boy, it was really, really something. I've seen a tornado from a distance before, but never been right under one like that. It was incredible.
Yeah, something you expect to see out in the open spaces, but never in the heart of a major city.
Right.
We've got Joanne on the phone with us now. Joanne knows, but nobody can help watching this thing, apparently. People have talked to us about being hypnotized by it. Did you feel that sort of feeling?
Yes, it was beautiful. It was really, really beautiful. But, like if you're under it, you don't feel that way.
Okay, Joanne, thank you very much. Joanne talking with us on the telephone from downtown Miami, describing her impressions of the tornado that came through a short while ago. I'm told now we have some amateur video ready to go. Let's take a look at that and let's listen to it. At home video made of the tornado that came through downtown Miami earlier this afternoon. We're told that the audio portion of this videotape is especially remarkable. Early on, you get the impression of that freight train sound that is the cliche audio signature of a storm like this. If you hear debris, now you hear people. We're going to listen.
Nico, relax. It's fine. Would you stop?
Crying children, fascinated adults, beepers going off, trees flying apart, and the tornado whipping through. A remarkable piece of video and audio shot by a person apparently in the area of the Port of Miami earlier this afternoon. Let's go to Bill in the Weather Center now. Bill?
Yeah, Mark, looking at that video again, and we saw the funnel cloud, which a lot of us do see sometimes coming out of thunderstorms, and they never touch down. This was a case where the funnel was up there, and then the rotation of air began also at the ground, and the two met. So it wasn't a case of the actual funnel coming out of the cloud and touching the ground, as it was, according to this video anyway, from what I'm seeing, a case of the vortex or the swirling mass of air at the ground and the cloud meeting somewhere in the middle to form this particular tornado. And when I saw those huge branches just being picked off like, you know, sticks and on vehicles, branches being blown into vehicles, and it looked like sheet metal coming off a building, we're talking about a pretty significant...
A lot of people have been out.
This one has long since disappeared. It looked like it was on the ground maybe about 10 minutes or so and was enough to do the damage that we saw earlier. And again, the reason why we're hanging on here is because whenever you have one storm like this, one tornado that develops from a system, the probability is much, much higher that you're going to see several. It is a rare occurrence when you have just one, you don't have another one. In fact, we do have, in northern part of Broward County, a report from radar of a possible tornado right now that is in the North Lauderhill and Coconut Creek area, moving northeast toward Pompano Beach and Deerfield Beach at the present time. But again, this storm was pretty spectacular an hour ago. It has lifted up and has done, from what we can tell, relatively minor damage, which would be consistent with a typical South Florida tornado, although this one is probably a little high on the end on the scale of tornadoes as far as damage is concerned.
I'm sure a lot of trees down and power lines down. And this is probably towards the end. It was lifting back up towards the clouds.
You can see some of that rotation, too, at the ground, that kind of turning and rotating of some of the debris at the base of that tornado.
And there again, it looks like it's still on the ground. I take that back, and you can see the city in the backdrop there. But thankfully, it looks like that cell, that particular thunderstorm, has now gotten offshore. But there's another one to talk about.
That's right, over in Broward County and the area moving up toward the northeast, toward Pompano Beach, and that area needs to be on the lookout.
Okay, so hopefully we're not going to see this replayed, but again, Fred, just to emphasize, very unstable air mass down here over.
I've been to jail on the funky stuff. You ain't got to get ready. I got in shock, you know, this funky stuff. Why you hushing? You ain't got to get ready.
Paula building, the third building behind that cluster of three. I was watching your news report at about 2 o'clock, saw this video. At that time, a live report. I turned 90 degrees to my left, and I'm literally looking at the funnel. About, as I say, 42 floors up. We're looking through the center of the funnel forming as it's right now. And then we saw it travel across the water, hit the Venetian Causeway. We were watching the cars. They were stopped on the causeway, waiting for the funnel to pass over them. And then we saw it hit the Venetian Causeway. We saw it hit the power lines and pulling the debris and trees up off the ground.
Your heart must have stopped when you saw something that size so close to you.
Well, it was a combination of exhilaration and fear. I mean, part of me wanted to watch it. It was a scene right out of Twister.
Right.
And part of me wanted to, you know, get behind and seek shelter.
So you were obviously looking out of some glass windows.
Exactly, yeah. It wasn't the brightest place to be, but like I say, we were sort of crouched down behind some furniture.
Right.
You know, kind of peeking over the side. But then we saw it moving away from us as it is now, moving toward the causeway, and that's when we got a little more courage, you might say, to kind of take another look.
And
but,
once again, we want to tell our viewers at home, this is video recorded earlier. This happened at about 2 o'clock this afternoon. Tell us about that wall of water that we're looking at. It's hard to get a perspective when you're taking a shot from the top of a building. But that, again, I'm estimating 40 or 50 feet into the air. It may be more than that.
Well, actually, you can see the cloud, and then right above that, you see the spiraling water actually twist around. And as I say, we're on the 42nd floor, which is 400 feet up in the air. So that's how high a lot of that water was coming.
Right.
So you've got that perspective. I mean, you can see it basically dwarf the 42 high-rise that we're in.
Amazing. Now, what can you see outside of your window at this time? Do you see any damage?
We can see some collateral damage along the causeway, but it doesn't. It basically looks, from our point of view, what your reporters just viewed, on the ground.
Right.
And other than that, it looks like a clear day.
And the sun's out there now?
Yes.
Unbelievable how quickly the weather changes here in South Florida. Mr. Stoller, we thank you for your time. We're happy everybody's safe in your building.
Well, thanks for your reporting.
In the meantime, we still have weather to be concerned about up in Broward, so let's...
And let me get out of the way. You can see about as much as I can here, just a lot of blackness out there, indicating obviously a strong storm and obviously a lot of heavy rain. And I don't know if we have any lightning up there or not, but I would not be surprised if we did. In fact, I'd be surprised if we did not have some lightning and cloud-to-ground lightning strikes. So those of you in Broward County, especially in the northern half of Broward County right now, you need to take shelter. You need to prepare from the storm. Is it possible to go back to the other video or not here from the earlier tornado? Because what's interesting from that is the tornado is beginning right in here. You can almost see another little vortex starting right in here, but the actual vortex is beginning to come down right there. This is the very beginning part of it. You can see these two little ones that are actually rotating and beginning to go around the main funnel. This entire cloud, the entire base cloud is rotating. A lot of people wonder, well, what does a tornado look like? The first thing you see is this entire cloud beginning to rotate around. Now you can see the funnel forming and developing right there as the condensation.
Devastating tornadoes, severe thunderstorms, and a record heat. Day after day, severe weather fired up in the southern high plains. On Sunday, a Weather Channel crew storm chasing in Kansas captured this tornado on tape. The twister touched down in a remote area in Harper County. A second Weather Channel crew got caught in this storm as it passed through McPherson, Kansas. High winds and rain hammered their car. The big story of the week was an F5 tornado that ripped through southwestern Texas Tuesday, killing at least 27 people. Most of the fatalities were in the town of Gerald. There, the twister leveled about 50 homes in the Double Creek subdivision. Gerald is no stranger to disaster. A tornado destroyed most of the town in 1989.
We saw a little thundercloud and we didn't know what it was. And she said, the tornado's coming, tornado's coming. And next thing we knew, we saw the Albertsons and Blockbuster roof go up.
Further south, in the town of Cedar Park, another tornado tore the roof off this grocery store. 8 people were injured. Meanwhile, it was a wet, dreary week for most of the southeast. And in stark contrast for the southwest, it was dry and hot. In Los Angeles, temperatures were about...
Let this cell go on by, and then we'll watch out and see if this cell down here to the south might...
En menos de un minuto, ráfagas que sobrepasaron las 100 millas por hora dejaron a gran parte del downtown de Miami como...
About 7th Avenue and just descending of Flagler Street, northwest.
This is further west then than we have been talking about.
Yeah, that's correct. And the more we hang out over here, we have just to the southwest, they have several Florida Power and Light Company trucks working a particular area. And just to the south of where you see this video here, there's fire rescue vehicles that are attending an incident down there.
Does it look to you like something fell on that building, or does it look like it was blown apart? Can you tell by looking at that roof if is there a big tree associated with that or something?
Yeah, I see a fallen tree now in the midst of all that.
So that's probably what happened. Probably this is not like a hurricane kind of thing where it lasts for a long time. These tornadoes. I mean, I'm going to just throw a wild estimate out here, but my guess is by looking at that tornado that you have a wind gust there of probably 85 or 90 miles an hour if it turns.
Aún más cerca, pasando por la bahía de Biscayne, se puede observar los edificios por delante del Sun Trust, vientos bien fuertes. Todo esto es a consecuencias de una baja presión y sistema frontal que tenemos sobre el sur de la Florida. Vamos a regresar al radar donde pueden...
De Miami, rumbo hacia Miami Beach. El tornado volcó vehículos y arrancó árboles de sus raíces en la pequeña Habana. Rápidamente pasamos ahora en vivo con nuestro colega José Camilo, que se encuentra en la pequeña Habana. Adelante.
Gracias, Ambrosio. Estamos en la avenida 8 y la tercera calle.
Wondering whether it was going to come straight at us or not, because at that point it was, and we were in an all-glass conference room facing the direction of the oncoming tornado.
Keep filming.
Uh-oh.
We got it!
Hey!
Yes! Beautiful!
In Little Havana, another viewer in the process of filming a cable access program stopped what he was doing and rolled on this unbelievable sight.
I saw the cyclone and I saw the clouds just about getting together for a cyclone, and I said, let me concentrate on this and let everybody stand by. I thought this was more important.
After a while, though, this guy realized he could be in danger.
It was very scary. It was so big, as wide as a building, and it was only about 4 blocks away from me. And I said I was hoping that it wasn't going to go to where I was.
And that's what a lot
Unusual. You may not ever see this again. I want you to get close to your screen so you can watch this. This is the formation of the tornado. We're looking from downtown Miami to the north. You have 2 small funnel clouds that developed at first, one here and one here, both of these rotating around the base. Now, this happened at 2 o'clock this afternoon. Now, as we continue the motion, this one goes away and gives up its energy to this one, which becomes stronger. So that's the developing funnel right there. And now what's happening in the next few seconds after this is already you're getting some rotation on the ground and you're getting some damage on the ground, even though you can't see it. So this is the point where you have to get close to your screen. I want you to watch right down in here. There's a line of trees that it'll be going through. I think we zoom in just a second. You can see the funnel beginning to take shape here. The rotation already is going on. You can see a little bit of rotation right down near the water. And also notice right here, see how the water is starting to come in right in through there. You can see it's starting to rotate around, and you can see those trees wavering right through there as it goes offshore and over the water right now. So right now we've got a tornado from top to bottom, full condensation on the funnel as the whole system here is fully illuminated. So it is moving east to northeast at this point, and it's about to move over the causeway pretty soon. And as it does so, it picks up this huge volume of water, and that acts to eventually disperse the system as it reduces the frictional forces in the storm. But you can see that's a huge area of water that is now being sprayed up from the water and up into the funnel itself. Behind it, there's a little trail in the water that sort of marks where it has been right there. As it continues to move to the northeast, it's almost ready to go over the Venetian Causeway and eventually to Biscayne Isle, where it did some damage over there. So this is quite spectacular. Usually we see tornadoes from the ground looking up. This is a view that we may not have ever seen before. It's possible to see it from such a high altitude to look down at it like this. So it's quite an incredible sight that we had this afternoon at 2 o'clock.
Blue skies, white beaches, lush palms. That's probably what comes to mind when you think of the Sunshine State. Of course, we know there can be trouble in paradise. Florida has seen plenty of tornadoes and hurricanes with names like Aaron and Andrew. So when the Florida skies turned black one day, residents knew a big storm was brewing. It's where the whirlwind hit that stunned so many. Here's Bob McEwen.
We heard what sounded like a freight train, and the cars over here started flipping.
I mean, it was horrendous. Things were flying everywhere.
It scared me to death.
A typical spring afternoon turned upside down.
We heard the swirling winds, and we heard the glass breaking all over the place, and we were just going for cover.
Sure enough, it starts coming our direction, and we didn't know what to do.
But hardly anyone does, because this tornado is not setting down in the windswept plains of Texas, Oklahoma, or Kansas. It isn't picking up speed along Tornado Alley. This twister is touching down in a city of almost 400,000 people. This twister is touching down in Miami. The time is 1:55 p.m. Watch that black cloud. You can see the funnel form and reach right down towards the city.
Wow, look at this funnel, babe.
But a day that would hold moments of terror for so many started innocently enough. It was a typical rainy spring morning in Miami. And as often happens, television and radio stations broadcast a tornado warning.
If you hear what sounds like a freight train that is moving into your area, please take shelter immediately.
There were advisories, and we get those all the time. So you get to the point where, unfortunately, you kind of say, well, it's just a warning or
Angel Calzadilla is a Miami police officer, an eyewitness, and today, he says, a lucky man.
I was born and raised here, and I have never seen anything even remotely close to the force of nature that I saw that day.
Attention units are advised to use caution. We've had several tornadoes, sightings, and touchdown 1 o'clock.
The twister first touches down in the southwest corner of the city, the area called Little Havana. It rips roofs right off houses, annihilates garages, smashes cars.
The house is, and the boom, 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 the garage.
But while the damage done is impressive, it could be worse. Little Havana is mostly single-family homes and small apartment buildings. Now the twister is marching on across the Miami River and straight towards the high-rise offices and apartments of downtown.
It's about getting ready to cross the bridge now. It's moving into downtown.
And right in its path was the Miami Police Station.
Now, is there any accepted procedure for the Miami Police Department in the event of a tornado in the middle of this city?
We have emergency planning for hurricanes. We have emergency planning for all kinds of situations that might arise. The speed in which this thing developed, I don't think anybody could have prepared.
Be advised, it's headed straight for the station. It's coming straight for the station. There's a lot of debris in the area.
But for a city used to the massive destruction of hurricanes, like Andrew, that roared through southern Florida in 1992 and caused $20 billion worth of damage, the pinpoint power of a tornado is a novelty, and it draws the curious directly into its path, even some who should know better.
I know we advise people, don't go out to look at it, don't let curiosity get the best of you, stay in a safe area, but I didn't obey those rules.
Where exactly were you?
I was caught up in the amazement of it, just looking up at this thing, trying to, when I focused on all the debris and everything else and the noise, my lieutenant had to actually kind of shake me out of it and grab me and bring me back in because it's that overwhelming.
It's coming right toward the station at this time at 1356.
3200, it'll be at the station. Tell everybody in the station to move away from the windows. It's coming on the station right now.
A stroke of luck, the tornado hits the police parking area, but narrowly misses police headquarters and the hundreds housed inside. Then it marches on, ripping into a newly renovated office building in the heart of the city. The tornado continues, dancing across parking lots, overturning cars. And from his 47th floor office window, attorney Scott Sheftall can see it all.
If it snapped the end of the vortex against a building, it just mutilated it, just pulverized it and drew the debris up into the funnel cloud.
Technically, the tornado is a borderline F1, the smallest class of twister, and less than half the power of the one that wiped out Jarrell, Texas, killing 30 people. But it's still packing winds of up to 110 miles an hour. And even though Florida is one of the states with the most tornadoes in the country, this one takes Miami by surprise. All around the city, people grab home video cameras to record the twister, only occasionally pausing to consider they might be putting themselves in danger.
Shut the door. Shut the door. Seriously, shut the door.
I'm a daredevil.
No, seriously, it's not funny.
Like the bit of an electric drill skipping across a countertop, the tornado gouges its way through Miami, demolishing what's in its path, leaving what's on either side untouched.
You look around in season, and what a season it was. Kristen Dodd takes a look at this year's above-average year in part one of Hurricanes 99, Fury, Floods, and Flight.
The 1999 Atlantic hurricane season, an active year that produced powerful hurricanes and caused catastrophic flooding.
This is absolutely unbelievable. Very, very heavy rain, winds easily gusting to near hurricane force, huge waves coming in. The problems obviously here are with the airports, they are shut down. Tremendous amounts of flooding with the 5 to 10 inches of rain that we've already had, and we have had loss of power as well.
There were 12 named storms this year. 8 were hurricanes, and 5 of those major, Category 3 or higher. It's the second consecutive year with above-average totals. 4 hurricanes and 1 tropical storm pounded their way onto the U.S. mainland.
Relative to death and destruction along the coastline, we were really very fortunate that there weren't that many deaths associated with the landfalls along the coast.
With the exception of Brett, the Gulf of Mexico was relatively quiet. Most of the action happened in the Atlantic, and 4 of the 5 U.S. landfalls occurred on the East Coast.
If I were to characterize this season, I would sort of have a lot of sympathy for folks in North Carolina, because not only this season, but the past couple of seasons as well, they seem to have been the target for the worst that the hurricanes had to offer, and that was certainly true again this year.
And indeed it was. There were two landfalls along the North Carolina coast, Dennis and Floyd. They hit about 120 miles apart and within 2 weeks of each other. Dennis made landfall near Morehead City as a tropical storm, and Floyd near Cape Fear as a Category 2 hurricane.
Strong winds, heavy rains, and certainly some pounding waves crashing across North Carolina as Hurricane Floyd continues to make its landfall.
Hurricane warnings posted now from Fort Pierce, Florida, to the North Carolina-Virginia border.
The state of Florida barely escaped the wrath of Hurricane Floyd. The powerful Category 4 hurricane got too close to Florida, so officials didn't take a chance.
Attention, attention. Mandatory evacuation has been issued for this area.
1.3 million people fled their homes for safety.
This year is a good example of where water was a major damage consequence, especially in the Carolinas.
Heavy rains from Dennis, Floyd, and Irene caused widespread flooding to the mid-Atlantic region, primarily in North Carolina. Counties in 10 states were declared disaster areas. Towns were underwater.
This is a Category 1 hurricane, and we are on the western side of it. We are getting pelted here.
Hurricane Irene caught South Florida off guard and caused extensive flooding and beach erosion along the state's east coast.
We can't underestimate these hurricanes. We know that rainfall is a very big factor. This year reinforces our idea that that is often the case and something we really need to be prepared for.
For the Weather Channel, I'm Kristen Dodd.
Now let's take a look at your truck.
Sustained winds of up to